Hello, everyone, and welcome to Move, Crush, Count. This is a podcast produced and sponsored by J&L Marketing. The title of today's interview is How to Explode Your Wealth with Relationships. My name is Scott Joseph. I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking with Scott Simons on how to grow personal wealth by networking and building strong relationships. Scott is a first-generation, multi-franchise managing partner. They've got several auto dealerships he's involved in. He's an investor. He's the co-host of the Breakfast of Champions room on Clubhouse. So most of you, if you're on Clubhouse, you'll see him there every single morning. Scott, I want to thank you again for agreeing to join us on Move, Crush, Count. Let's jump right in.
Thanks for having me on. You know, we recently connected, and we're both, in the auto industry, and we got connected on Clubhouse, and then come to find out we got mutual friends. So yeah, it's been great to get to know you. We just recently went to Apex event, which I'm an Apex executive. Connections, I think part of it has to do with where I'm originally from, Southern West Virginia, where I was raised. A handshake meant something. Your word meant something. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, do it. Very basic living, McDowell County, West Virginia. But I would say I learned that my mom's Italian. So, she just never met a stranger. And my dad is not afraid to carry on a conversation either. But I would say where I came from and my parents, how they raised me, has a lot to do with how I've been so fortunate to be connected with so many awesome people.
So for a lot of people that may not know you, and we do have, because we're both in auto, I would expect a lot of people listening to this episode will come from that industry. But quite honestly, what we're going to talk about today goes across all business verticals, and it really should speak directly to a lot of business leaders or any entrepreneur that's really trying to grow their business, grow their wealth. And so let's start off with a little bit of background about who you are. Where did you get started, right? Where's your education come from? Is it trial and error, or did you have mentors, things such as that? Where's all your experience in terms of growing your personal brand, your personal, I guess, more fulfilling life? How did all that start for you? Yeah. Where's it begin?
Yeah, that's a great question. So originally I'm from Southern West Virginia. Yep. I'm one of two. My dad was one of nine. My mom was one of nine. So I think in Southern West Virginia, you worked in coal mines and had babies, I think is what you basically did. And my mom and dad met there in Southern West Virginia. They got married. They came from very humble beginnings, worked really hard. My dad had 5 jobs that he would take my brother and I with in the summer. Any one job, he never made more than $32,000 a year. So one was kind of a depressed area. 2, he worked those other jobs to make up for the income that the low income on his primary occupation. My mom worked in the lab, so she was a lab supervisor. And growing up during the Depression and growing up in very humble beginnings, they taught us work very hard. When we first started out, I think my first job was paper route at like 12 years old. I started working at a community center when I was 15. So did my brother. My brother is the smarter of the two. He's a doctor. I'm the car salesman. So you could, he was blessed with the brains and the looks. I just refused to quit, and if you refuse to quit, you really can never fail, because I just simply won't quit. So, my parents pushed us a lot. They taught us the value of money. They taught us the value of doing something to the best of your ability. So if I tell you I'm going to dig a ditch, which I don't like doing manual labor. I just don't. But if I tell you I'm going to dig a ditch, I'm going to dig it to the best of my ability. And just, make sure you represent your family. My dad, said, if you, don't go out and look for trouble, but if you get in a fight and you get your butt whooped, you're going to get your butt whooped when you get home too. If your friends are fighting, you're fighting, so just that loyalty is where I, was raised. Started out, I'll take you through my senior year, which sometimes when I tell people this story, they're like, wow. And it was just normal for me. So I would get up about 4:30 in my senior year, go open up a gym. I worked at a nonprofit gym. I would get there at 5. I would work there till 8. I would leave there, go to high school. High school, I would be in high school till lunch, eat lunch. Then I could have took the rest of the day off. I then went to college in the afternoon, Bluefield State College, took college courses, went back to high school for baseball practice, and then went back to the gym and worked till 10 o'clock at night. And I did that pretty much every single day. And that's all I really knew. I'd work in the weekends. Like I would work like 60 hours a week and go to college and go to high school and play sports. And I found one of my pay stubs recently, it was $4.25 an hour, because my dad ran the place doesn't mean I got treated any different. And I'll show you how that correlates. So I made $4.25 and he paid me minimum wage. Now my son works for me in recon. He's 14. He works for me in a real estate agent. He gets paid minimum wage. He's the only employee out of 175 that we got that makes minimum wage. So my son likes working for this other gentleman because he pays him in cash and he pays him more money. So he works for this other gentleman. I said, Daddy, he pays more. I said, son, I get it. I completely understand. And he doesn't make him work as hard. Working in, details, part of in car dealerships, that's one of the hardest jobs in the business. So, and I wanted him to start.
That's where I got my start.
So it makes sense, right? Success leaves clues. So from there, I'd already finished, a little bit of the college courses. So I went to Bluefield State, continued work at the community center. I graduated with my 4-year degree in 2.5 years, graduated with my MBA in 1.5 years, and worked full time the whole time. And when I went to college, I helped teach courses and got paid. They paid for my college at Radford University. I had a graduate teaching fellowship. I knew I was an entrepreneur because I tested the grades there. So I was like a graduate teaching assistant. Most of the people that I was grading their work was older than me. They were also the kind of the jocks and the people that knew what was going on. So I never paid to stand in line to get in bars, and I always got served for free. So I probably was pro-capitalist at a very young age. What I did learn about my parents is this. I learned what I've already shared with you, hard work ethic, say you're going to do something, save your money. My dad beat it into our heads. I mean, my dad made no more than $32,000 a year, and he retired a multimillionaire by saving his money, paying himself first. So I'm a big proponent on financial literacy. I'm a big proponent on teaching our team about finances and save your money and pay yourself first, because that was literally beat into our heads. So I finished my 4-year degree, then my MBA, and told my dad I was going to get in the car industry. Now, my dad had a friend that was a accountant that made good money. My dad did not make good money. He's a good man, but just didn't make good money. And he said to my brother, you're going to be an accountant because so-and-so is an accountant and he makes good money. That's what you're going to be. So my dad was, pretty much a dictator. I will say that. Very, very tough. So my brother went to go get his accounting degree. After year 2 in college is when stuff gets serious, right? You got you get prerequisites. And then when you get year 3 is when, it gets real, is what we say. So my brother finished with his accounting degree and literally could not stand accounting, but he didn't want to disappoint my dad. So he graduated with a 3.8 GPA. Dad, I remember going to his graduation, and Dad said, all right, you ready for sit for the CPA exam? My brother said, no. And I'm like, uh-oh. And he says, I'm going to go be a doctor. You thought that he pulled a gun out and shot my dad in the chest. My dad said, what do you mean you're going to be a doctor? You got to go back to school for that. Why don't you go get a job and start making money? Why don't you go? Why would you want to be a doctor? Can you be a doctor? So, anyway, so my brother went back to school for a year, took his prereqs, went to medical school, and he's the ER doctor in Texas. So I said, well, wait a minute. My brother stood up to my dad. I'm going to try it. Dad, I don't want to be an accountant. What? So I got my regular degree, my business administration degree, because if you spend any time around me, Scott, one thing you'll know, I'm no accountant. We have accountants, we have attorneys, which we use some of the same ones now, right? But you're not an accountant. I'm not an accountant. That's not my profile. So but you should have seen it when I told him, hey, Dad, I'm going to go be a car salesman. It's like I shot him again. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm like to own a car dealership one day. Well, why'd you go waste all your time in college? You didn't have to go to college to go sell cars. Dad, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. But I've got a degree and no one can ever take that degree with me from me. And in the corporate world, it means something. In sales, it's just, can I produce? And am I a good person? Am I a natural leader? And, can I save my money in case if I get a dream of an opportunity to buy into a store, which was always my dream. I just love the fact that in the car industry, you can make unlimited income. And, Scott, when I saw my mom and dad struggle and clip coupons and argue about money, the number one reason why marriages fail is money. It's not infidelity, it's money. Number one reason why small businesses fail, money. And I said, I want to have the ability to get paid on what I do. And I've always liked the excitement of seeing people buy transportation. I still get excited. I'm selling quite a few vehicles to Apex Brothers and Arte Brothers and Sisters, these TRX pickup trucks. I've sold a bunch of them. I mean, now with this chip shortage, I got people reaching out to me all the time because I've networked in these groups and I'm shipping cars throughout the United States of America. But that's the reason I got in the auto industry. And I'm really fortunate. I've been married or dated the same lady since I was 17. I'm 48. She walked into that fitness facility I was working at. She was really good looking. She had all her teeth. And we did not, and she still got them all, which is amazing. Those kids. And we weren't kin, and she was real pretty. So at least I don't think we're kin. I'm about to do that DNA testing, which we'll find out, the DNA 1, 2, ancestry 1, 2, 3. So stay tuned.
There's a downside, to having all your teeth. You're never allowed to sit in the first 10 rows of a wrestling crowd. So
that's, man, I tell you what, my wife walked in and, I said, wow, where is she from? So we've been dating or married ever since. You break up while you're going through college and stuff like that. And, we work real hard at it. Being married is not easy. So, staying married is not easy. I'm not an easy person to get along with at all. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life and I'm not perfect. But I told her, I said, honey, look, I want to be a car dealer one day. She's like, oh, okay. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm probably never going to make it, but I'm going to try. She's okay. I said, but if you think that I'm just going to sit around and sit and hold hands until we get old on the front porch of a house, that ain't me. And I said, so, I hope you understand. And I really hope you're along for this journey because it's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a grind. But I need your support. But I tell you what, if I make it, I got the money. You'll never have to balance a checkbook in your life, ever. My wife has never balanced a checkbook. She's never had a financial worry in her life, none. So, some people would say, well, what is she, a doormat? No, she's not a doormat at all. She's had a job. Now we work together in our S corporation, which you and I were talking about. But she supported me. Scott, she's never said you work too much because I think she probably likes that I'm at work all the time. But anyway, she's never said, what about me? What about this? What about that? She's been tremendously supportive. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today if we didn't have her support.
That's great. It can make life very difficult unless you have someone that kind of works with you and supports you. But when I hear your story, and it's great because first off, when I hear about your mom and your dad, both being children or not, my dad was the 12th. He was, so my mom doesn't have that large of a family. It was more normal, right? She's one of 4, but my dad was the only boy. He was the 12th. So they kept going until a boy was, until the boy came. And so, yeah.
11 girls and 1 boy.
1 boy. And so I hear that. And then, I could remember my dad when I left. So when he was away on a 20 group, for those of you listening, those are just meetings where people get together, they share best practices and trying to level up their business. They were out in California. I dropped out of school and started selling cars. And of course I had that discussion with them, but after a couple of years of selling cars, I was leaving to start J&L marketing. And I remember, I'll never forget his comment. You'll be back here in 3 months. That's what he told me. So that's 30 years ago. So I never went back, but I ended up buying stores. And that's where I want to switch with you, because you did fulfill the dream there. You became a managing partner. How many stores?
I have 5 currently, and our group
Yeah.
has 15, and we just bought, we can't announce yet, we just bought 5 more. So my
Nice.
partner now has 20.
That's awesome. And so, and that kind of goes into, that doesn't happen without building a strong relationship and a network there, which I want to kind of dive into. So let's talk about people that achieve super high levels of success. And I'm stealing this question from Bradley. I was on his podcast and he asked me this question. I thought, it's a good question. I'm gonna start working this into some of mine as well. So I'm going to give him credit the first couple times, and then after that, I'm going to take it as my own. But
Love it.
What would you say are the 5 critical things that all people have or do? All right. What are the key elements to achieve high levels of success? What do they have to have?
Well, I think that you've got to have heart. You've got to want. Ben Newman talks about the burn. What's that burn to you? What has motivated me based on where I talk or how I talk, even to this day, and where I'm from? A lot of people look down their nose at me and my family, and you'll notice I'm proud, but I'm not. I don't think anybody ever described me as an arrogant person at all. And to me, when people doubted me, which was valid, completely valid, I used that as to push through the times I wanted to quit, the times that I was about ready to give up, the times that the pressure was so bad that I put on myself that I was turned into an alcoholic. I was winning. There was one point in my career I was winning in business, but I was losing in everything. I mean, I was not a good person because I was just so hell-bent on hitting that goal. And it took me having a heart attack in the show. Well, my blood pressure was so high, I had a heart attack, but I never officially, I don't think had a heart attack, but my blood pressure was so high. I was in a very toxic dealership. I was in a very toxic environment. And the whole team had transitioned over and quit. And it was just me and a few people. And they didn't quit because of me. They quit because of the previous leader, but I still had nobody. And I just moved in a brand new store and I was not going to fail. And I'd say, Scott, I had to really fight through those dark times, but then I changed. And I tell you that where my career took off is this. I managed everybody as though they were me. And that was a big mistake because there's only one me, there's only one you. And when you manage people, I didn't understand why they took off that day when they could have worked that day and hit that bonus. Like when the dealership is open and I'm in town, everybody tell you, I travel a lot. I've been very fortunate. Like I've got Honda meeting coming up. We've got Subaru meeting coming up. I just got back from Nissan meeting, the national meetings. But when I'm here, I'm here. I even work, every day that we're open. We're not open on Sundays because that's what I enjoy to do. But there was a point in my life where I was failing at everything else, but winning at work. When I started worrying more about what was important to the team, asking them their 3 personal goals, their 3 professional goals, and getting to know what's important to them. Scott, if I can't motivate you based on my goals, I got to motivate you based on your goals. And when I started caring more about, I'll be honest, I only cared about myself and hitting the goals. And I was willing to do whatever it took to get there. And I lost a lot of really good people because I chewed them up and spit them out. Now, I'm not proud to say that, but it's a fact. That's what happened. I literally pushed them so hard to hit a goal that was important to me that I lost some really good people because it wasn't important to them. I didn't say, what's in it for you? Well, when I got a chance to buy into my first car dealership, I brought 47 people with me over time out of 100. Well, that's how much I changed. If I had not changed, none of them would have wanted to came with me. And man, it took almost killing me to understand that, man, it's what's important to these people that work for me, the 175 that work with me, not for me, that I've got to know, that they got a child that's going to college, that's what they're saving money for. They want to buy their first house, or I just had an associate have a second child, celebrating a second child. So, I would say what really got me through was I never quit. There's times I wanted to, there was times I wanted to give up. I had a really clear goal in mind. Like I knew what that goal, when I started caring about others and more than I did myself, is when my career really took off. And there were some turbulent years there, man. It wasn't all just, rainbows and unicorns. I mean, there was some tough years there, and they could have went either way. And I did some things I really wasn't proud of, because I just was I was so fixated on that goal. And, attaining the goal, man, stand on top of that mountain by yourself, sure, you climb to the top, but there's nobody there with you. And the more, go ahead.
I was going to say, so you've named three things: never quit, or persistence, right? Setting proper goals, caring about others. And I think anybody that follows you or has been following you on any of the social channels, whether it be Clubhouse or Instagram or Facebook, you're sitting there. I mean, you're a driven person. So when you're talking about goals and persistence, you're not setting them just, I know you, and I know your routine. These aren't just work and professional goals. These are life and personal goals, which obviously help you professionally. Like you're a health nut now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I lost over 50 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. Give us just a real quick thing. Give us a little quick thing on that morning routine for you.
Yeah. Well, we're in such a competitive world, right? I mean, I don't view you as competition directly to me, but the other dealers in my area, yeah, we're competition. Yep. And I get up early to get an advantage. And plus,
how early?
I get up, my alarms, I'm up by 4. My first one's at 4. My second one's at 4:15. Glenn Lundy and I were kind of having a contest there for a while. Now he's up at 3, and I was up at 3:15, 3:45, 3:30. Glenn's now went to 3. And I'm like, look, dude.
What time does Glenn go to bed? What time does Glenn go to bed?
He's big about getting like these time slots, like this he's got his sleep routine. He only gets about 4.5 hours of sleep, which I go to bed about 9:30, go to bed realistically, go to sleep I'm in sleep probably by 10 now. Scott, I will tell you, I go down like that. Like people, they'll say, we've never seen someone go to sleep that fast.
Well, that's because you're getting up at 4 or something.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's, I learned this from like Ed Milet and the Andy Frisellas, and although Andy don't get up early, there's a lot of things I learned, but he doesn't get up early. The Grant Cardones, which are friends of ours, the Danelle Delgados, the people that we mentors, Ryan Stewman, Sean Whalens, people like that. A lot of people stay up at night, Scott, and they worry about stuff that's never going to happen. So we worry about 80%, some people say 90%, some people sit there and worry themselves to death. Well, your body needs vitamin D. If I'm up late at night worrying about all this stuff, is what I'll say, that's never going to happen, all it's going to do is mentally wear me out. The busier you keep yourself, like people will say, Scott, go through all the businesses you part of. Well, when I start to do it, it overwhelms me a little bit. And people say, wait a minute, what do you mean? If you look at my schedule, if I would send you my travel schedule, if I send you my daily schedule, I don't sit and think about it a whole lot, because it would become overwhelming. So the busier you stay, the less you question, why am I doing this? Like a lot of people have downtime, they have doubt. Then they stay up late worrying about stuff that's never going to happen. So I just don't play that. I don't really watch. I'm kind of a boring guy. I don't watch the TV. I don't really watch movies. I don't watch news. I listen to podcasts a lot. I'm always trying to learn. I try to stay more present where I'm at. That's hard for me because I'm a multitasker. I can't typically just do one thing. So, but I'm working on it. I'm working on being more present when I'm with people, and not, because I'll go off on a tangent in a heartbeat, because something will kick in my memory. Hey, I got to follow up with this person or that person. My wife's helped me a whole lot. My assistants helped me quite a bit with that. But I mean, I'm a tiger. I like to hunt. I'm a hunter. I don't like to sit back. I don't relax. So if you say, hey, let's go fishing, ain't gonna happen. Let's go hunting. Nah, I'm gonna fall asleep. Let's go lay on the beach. My wife loves to relax. I can't. Relaxing to me makes me uncomfortable. So
what I like about what you just said is it sounds like you make sure you fill your day with activities that are fueling you. Mm-hmm. And you are, because it's full, you're eliminating opportunities for activities that drain you. Fair enough?
I outsource stuff that I'm not good at. Yep. Like for some of our gyms, we're doing an SBA loan. I've never done an SBA loan before. And the guy's like, give me just this simple stuff. I said, call my accountant. Like, dude, like, I don't, why I've got to do all this. No one ever asked me for these things. And it's because, on these PFIT franchises, anytime you can get SBA money or get any type of money, you're foolish not to, once I've learned about it. I've never really went through the process before. Well, to go through the process is a pain. It's painful. So I told him, I said, look, I'm not good at this. So here's all my stuff, put it together for me. I'll pay if I need to, but that's not a good allocation of my time. I don't own tools. If you're my neighbor and you say, hey, Scott, can I borrow this? I'm going to hand you a butter knife or a cell phone. Butter knife, because I've got them, I use them. And a cell phone is to call somebody that's going to come do it for you. My dad never really taught us in those things because it was a waste of time. Like what it would cost me to go do those things in my time makes it outweigh. Like, I don't like to build stuff. If you say, well, do you like do woodworking and stuff? No, I don't like to build nothing. I don't own any tools. So it's not efficient use of my time.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Talk to us a little bit about your experience with Clubhouse specifically, because I know that you're on probably the most popular room that's on there daily with Breakfast with Champions.
Yes. So Glenn Lundy and I have been friends for quite a number of years. I always try to learn, the Brian Benstocks, the Glenn Lundys, the Alex Flores's, and on. Josh Cummings, which I visited all these people and became friends with them to learn. Obviously my partner, Liza Borchis, is an amazing car dealer. And I want to learn. I want to learn what they're doing. What can I emulate? What are they doing that I can't do? I'm not arrogant enough to sit and say, I'm doing it my way. I do have a certain way that I run a car dealership that I can share best practices. We're, 20 groups and et cetera. We're hyper competitive. We're terribly efficient, but I'm always trying to learn. So Glenn was running this dealership in Kentucky, selling 1,000 cars a month with a population of 9,000 people. Now he's close to Lexington. He's close to some pretty big markets, but still I reached out to him. I saw a video of him. Hey man, you want to come talk at our 20 group? And Glenn's like, what's a 20 group? I said, well, let me come. Would you come speak and I'll enlighten you? He came and spoke, and just because I asked him to, and he's branding himself. We stayed friends. He's coming up on his 1,000th episode of Rise and Grind. Will be November 5th, and we're going to meet in Lexington. Yeah, Lexington, November 5th through 7th at Grove for God.
So say if you're coming to Louisville, you need to make sure to
I most definitely will. Most definitely will. So we're going to go there for that event. So Glenn said, hey, Scott, would you help me with this Rise and Grind? Well, I saw how he branded himself and how he was hiring people throughout the United States of America. So I went to my partner, Liza Borchis, and I said, we had to give a presentation, the managing partners and general managers. What is the future of the auto industry? My presentation was, we better get involved in social media and tell our story and brand ourselves, or Glenn Lundy, Sean Hayes, Brian Benstock, all these people are going to take all the good people, Josh Cummings. If we don't get videographers, hire them, tell our story, and get out there, it has been credited as one of the best things our company has done for growth. Sean Hayes, he works for us now. I've hired 10 people that have came from all over the United States to come work here. Now, you can go, how many car dealerships in the United States? I mean, I got people, I had somebody from really far away, a bunch of them come work here. Well,
Well,
some of
what's
them
beautiful.
self-harm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what's beautiful about social, right? It allows you to tell your story the way it needs to be told. It allows you to put yourself out there and allow people to judge you based on what they see versus what they might hear or whatever else, or not hear you at all and not even know you exist. So, I mean, all kinds of benefits from that. I love that. So I am curious, and because I have found Clubhouse, and one of the reasons I asked that question is, first off, I feel like you and I have connected mainly from there. So that's one relationship that has formed from it. But the relationships that have been built, and I'm not just talking about just passive, hey, I know this person type of relationships, but true power players in a variety of verticals that I have now met and started good personal and business relationships with. And if it wasn't for that app, I would have never, there's a good chance I'd have never met these people.
Yeah.
You're one of them.
I agree. So Glenn said, "Hey, Scott, you've been here with me through Rise and Grind, and I'll get to the rest of the story." He said, there's this thing called Clubhouse, man. Let's go check it out. So I went with him. Then he said, "I'm gonna start this Breakfast with Champions. Would you jump in?" So then I reached out to my contacts, Brian Benstock, Liza Borsius, which she got to know Glenn also. And I said, "Hey, he's going to roll with this room. This will build our brand. Plus we get to give back." And, I think Clubhouse's timing was couldn't be any better because we're all jammed up at home on, with COVID. So we're all going crazy. We're all questioning what's happening, what's going to happen. We're going stir crazy. People like you and I that can't sit still. Then we get this app where, wait a minute, we could connect with all these amazing people and help us get through these kind of dark times. I mean, when in March a year ago, when COVID started to affect things in our area, man, I don't know about you, but I went in a really dark place. We had to make some decisions on what our future looked like. Some people, when you saw people laying in the streets dead in other countries, are we going to die? And I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of COVID. I'm not afraid of any human. I'm not afraid to die. Now I'm not going to go and jump out of a plane without a parachute, but I don't have any fears at all because I've lived a really good life. And when it's my time to go, it's my time to go. And
well, you said something earlier about worrying, right? We worry about things that never happen. And when you do that, you feel the same amount of pain as if it did happen. So it's tough to do sometimes, but I take a lot of pride in that for myself as well. I don't worry about things outside of my control. And sometimes I have to consciously tell myself, quit worrying about that, right? Because sometimes it'll sneak in. But why experience the pain when, like you said, most of the time, whatever you're thinking about is usually 10 times worse than what actually happens, or it doesn't even happen at all.
That's part of staying up late, and that's part of not keeping yourself busy, because then you'll question everything. If you have downtime, that's not good. And, so I just keep it just jam packed. But so Glenn, we got on Clubhouse, and man, I have met some amazing people. I have reconnected with people. I've met people such as you. It has been great to me. Now you got to be careful. Now Breakfast with Champions is on from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. Now they're going to spin it off to where everybody that speaks is going to have their own podcast website. The growth plans is unbelievable. Glenn brought some people aboard that's going to just take it to the next level. But there's a lot of people that are watching. They sign up for every mastermind, which some of my friends give me grief. They're like, "Man, how many masterminds, how many groups you going to join?" I'm like, "Hey, mind your business, yo. I got this. Like, it's my life. I can afford it. You spend your money on these things. I like joining groups and connecting with people, and joining those groups and connecting with people has made me a lot of money. It's been a fantastic investment if you meet and serve people and make real connections, and share. I will share any information I know. And there's a lot of people, I think them, or maybe it was us even at one point, we were told, not to share anything. Don't you dare tell another dealer what you're doing. Don't you dare tell somebody about this S corporation you formed, or don't you dare tell anybody how you use leverage. Don't you dare, share anybody your secrets. And I think there was a pivot in the auto industry that I was part of, that people started sharing information. I mean, at there was one point, car dealers hated each other and we all hoped everybody else went out of business but us. That's not the case anymore, right? That's what it used to be. We would love.
I had a guy.
Yeah.
I had a guy that I was out at a conference and he spoke, and man, he's sharp, and he runs a great store. It's out in California. I'm not going to say any names. And so I want to get him on the show because I thought, man, this guy, he can bring some serious value to the audience, right? And he goes, well, I'm not going to do it because I don't really want to go into detail as to how we're doing this and what we're doing. And I said, well, and I said his name. I said, you got to remember, 80 to 90% of the people that hear it, they'll agree with it, but they won't take any action on it.
That's exactly the point I was bringing up about the Clubhouse. I love the people that are on there, but Scott, I'll be on there and I can sign out and sign back on. And there's still some people on there that are not taking action. Every time I speak, I say, take action. Like I had Ben Newman on during the first Friday of every month at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ben Newman comes on. Man, he brings, do you know Coach Newman? Do you know who he is?
Only through Clubhouse, but I do not know him personally.
Yeah. So he is the mental coach for Alabama football, Kansas State football. He advises like 25 NFL players. He coaches big corporation CEOs. I mean, I had the opportunity to go to Super Bowl with him. Actually, it was Claudio, which you and I both know very well, very sharp guy. It was Sean Henry, the #1 solar guy in Florida. Claudio, because Claudio is Ben Newman's wealth and wealth strategist and advisor. So I got invited to go to a Super Bowl, and I'm like, how am I getting invited? And then Coach Newman's there. Well, I knew Coach Newman because he's good friends with Andy Frisella, because he's from St. Louis. Andy Frisella owns First Form. Arte Syndicate is from there. They're close friends with Woodley, or the UFC fighter that just fought Jake Paul. They went to the fight with him. So they're good friends with him. And Tyron Woodley, I don't know how to brain fart there, but I went to Super Bowl with this guy. Well, he was the advisor to Levante David, the start middle linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yep.
And he knows all these Alabama football players because he's their advisor. He today was on the call from Kansas State's head coach's basement. K-State takes on Stanford. He's going to the game with them tomorrow. He's the one that pumps them up and gives them training regiments and stuff. This is a guy that I met because I knew some people, and I go to Super Bowl with a guy that advises the best coach in the world, whether you like him or not, Nick Saban, one of the best coaches in any sport. And that's
what I was
hanging out with.
So we just did a show with Tim Story.
Yeah.
And what you're touching on here, I'm hearing this, and I heard a very similar thing with him. By the way, people who are highly successful tend to tell us and do a lot of the same things. And so there is a roadmap out there, a blueprint for high levels of success. The key is, like you said, doing it, taking action. And one of the things that, and this is really at the heart of what I wanted to talk with you about, and it's building these relationships, is I hear you talk. It's not that you've just started to network and build these relationships in a way, but it seems like the more that you're doing it, the faster and the bigger it's growing exponentially in terms of your network and who you're surrounding yourself with. And more importantly, everybody you're just talking with, you're talking about highly successful people. And I want to be very clear. I am not defining success strictly on financial, but you're surrounding yourself with people, the right people to surround yourself financially, spiritually, just whether it's personal or professional. And I know this, I see it. And it's why I wanted to talk to you, because I think you network and build relationships probably as good as anyone. And so I'm going to ask you this question. Can you describe the state of your life today compared to what it was 5 to 10 years ago?
Yeah, it's grown exponentially. I mean, I've gotten around people that have just made me think much bigger, right? If you're the biggest fish in the smallest pond, which probably I could be categorized that here, that makes you more comfortable. Like, I'll give you an example. When we bought the Honda store, I just celebrated 11 years yesterday, and they happened to come up on my time hop. I happened to be in Florida looking at fitness franchises, trying to fly back and get back because we've got inventory issues, as you well know, chip shortage and inventory.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting back. I literally flew down for one day. It's supposed to be 2 days, but then I had a plane that had a part on it wrong. So then I got to go to training day number 2. I didn't just sit at the airport, and then they took me back to the airport. But, I just constantly hustling, constantly, when you work this hard, well, okay, let me go back. In the Honda showroom, we had not sold a car yet. I had realized my dream 11 years ago. I've been to GM since I was like late 20s. Bought my first store when I was 37.
Very impressive.
I'm in the showroom and everybody's looking at me, and everybody, when we purchase a store, we retain everybody. Everybody's retained. Everybody gets a chance to be trained on how we want things done. And then if they simply can't perform, then that's when changes will be made. But we don't come in and just wipe everybody out. We've never done that.
Just so everyone's clear, when you buy a business, technically, all the employees of the former owner, they're not necessarily, they're not considered like an asset, right? They are an asset, but they're not like a physical asset that just moves on. It's not like buying a chair. So technically they have to be rehired by the new owner. And so what you're saying is you don't go through the big interview process and weed out some people you don't want. You bring them all on, give them an opportunity, and then make decisions from there.
Yeah, we do. We drug test them, obviously. We do criminal history. We do an AVA personality test. We do check their intelligence, but none of that, not unless something came up in their background, would prevent them from getting hired. And we do sit down and have a talk with them about our culture, but no, everybody's offered that opportunity. But what was crazy was we had not sold a car yet. I ran the dealership in the next town, and we were outselling this dealership. I mean, now like 3 to 4 to 1. So now I had to take, and that would be like Bill Belichick going from the Patriots to the Miami Dolphins or the Jets, and he had built this team, and now he's got to keep his team there because he's got to assume this other team and go there. And before we sold a car, I said, okay, gather around, I had a meeting. First of all, we're glad to be here, but our goal is to buy every dealership in town. And they all looked at me like, this dude's nuts. This dude is insane. We had not sold a car yet. A couple of them smirked and laughed. And I said, laugh all you want, but just so you know, I want to service this community so well that we attain all the other dealerships in town.
That's awesome.
And
That's thinking big and dreaming big.
Well, and since then we've got 8 franchises here in this town. So I took over VW in 13. We bought Nissan and Subaru in 14, and we picked up Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram as an open point in 16. Yeah. And we're looking to purchase more. But that's where the old, if I was settled and if I didn't get around the Grant Cardones and people like that say, hey, you're thinking, and Scott, you'll probably agree with me. To most people, I've been successful. To me, I've got so much more to accomplish. I don't see myself as successful.
I was going to ask you, how do you define success?
Like one of my goals right now, and they change, is to being successful is having freedom. I don't have a whole lot of freedom because, I have a job. My job is running these car dealerships. I love my job. And when I stop loving my job is when I'm going to do something else. When I don't enjoy coming to this dealership is when I'll still be part owner, but I'll either bring in general managers each one or, step away. But I thoroughly enjoy what I do. The day I stop is when I'm going to stop doing something. But what I've set up is with this S corporation and strategies I've learned from the people that you and I both know, I'm involved in other businesses that doesn't take my time. Like I went down for training because it was important, but I'm not going to run those gyms. We're going to hire people to run them. I've invested with Cardone Capital. I've invested in antique mall is 15 minutes from here. One of the largest on the East Coast. I've owned it for 5 years, me and another partner. I've never stepped foot in the largest antique mall on the East Coast, maybe the largest United States of America. It's 15 minutes from here. I've never stepped foot in it, ever. One, I don't want to become an antique. Two, I don't know nothing about an antique. Three, I could care less about an antique. I don't like antique cars. I don't like antique nothing. And I don't want to become an antique. I want the newest stuff out. I like the newest cars, the newest technology. The old stuff, you know why? Because I don't own tools. And if they break down, I'd have to try to fix it. And you don't want me to fix nothing. So I want stuff to turn on and work because my time is so valuable. Plus, I like all the cool technology. Like when a new iPhone comes out, I want to go buy the new iPhone, you know, when technology comes out, but I've not stepped foot in it. I own a sports complex. I've been to it a couple times. You know, I know what I know, which is the auto industry. I make money at the auto industry. This is what we learned from Grant Cardone. You did too. That money goes into S Corporation my family owns. I deploy that money and I look at opportunities. Like I vet opportunities all the time. I'm sure when I met you, I said, hey, if you have any opportunities I can invest in, or you need a partner or anything like that, you think there's some way you and I both can collaborate and make money, Scott, let me know. I say that to everybody I meet. You'll hear me say it over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
And what typically you'll say is Scott, keep me in mind.
Yep.
Keep me in mind. I'll keep you in mind. And you know what? You may not call me about an opportunity in a month. You may not call me in 6 months. You may call me in a year and say, Scott, I got an opportunity, brother. We need to talk. You know what I'm gonna do?
Yeah.
Man, you all ears, brother. What do we need to do? Like, are you involved in it? You know, certain things I look at. Are you invested in it? You know, and we've done it. I mean, we've already done a deal together.
Yeah.
From a meeting. And you know, you got to vet them. Like I knew you're a genuine person. I've got to spend some time around you. I know you're successful. I know you and I have, we're a good fit. We believe in a lot of the same things. I mean, a lot of times we're sitting here talking, both in our heads, like we were just nodding the whole time. Like, like that's my guy. Like, you know, that's how I think, or we have a lot of similarities. And you got to be careful. You know, there's a lot of people full of it out there too.
You know what, when I listen to you talk about all this, I want to make sure, because I think when some people hear the word networking or building relationships, they think of it kind of how we're taught, in the sense that, well, all right, I want to build a relationship so eventually I can sell a product or a service to this person or whatever it might be for that, right? I'm going to network at a party for this. You're involved in all these different investment opportunities, all these different businesses. You have partners and relationships in almost all of them. Accurate? And so you're building this network and building strong relationships with all the right people for multiple reasons. One, I'm hearing you saying, I don't know everything about certain things. So you can lean on people and ask for advice or their opinions about things. Right? So you've got a network that can help you with that. You've got investment opportunities. Sometimes it's just about building a strong relationship because that person introduces you to this person, which opens up who knows what, but you're thinking big. Yeah. You're thinking really big. And I want to make sure everybody understands that relationships isn't, I don't want people to think small when it comes to relationships. So so Breakfast with Champions in the Clubhouse, we've already discussed that. That's an opportunity. What I love about that is the interaction that's immediate, back and forth. And you can connect very easily through Instagram or what have you. But what are some of the other sources and other ways you've been able to grow this network and build so many relationships? I know you invest in you. And part of what I know what the answer is coming, or I know part of it, right? But a lot of people don't invest in themselves and give themselves or set the conditions right, or open up these opportunities to do what I'm hoping you're going to go with here.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of people would sit and say, you know, why do you join these entrepreneur groups? And I get jabbed. I got jabbed actually yesterday by someone. They're like, hey, you're in Apex, you're in Arte, you're in this group called Lions Den. How many groups you in? I'm making 10x, 20x on these relationships. Now, just like you, I'm not going to call and pressure you into investing in anything. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I don't go to any relationship with preconceived notions. I don't go wanting something from you. I want a friendship. And if there's a way we can collaborate and make money and we align in our values, then that's fine. But I don't go in thinking, hey, I joined the Arte Syndicate and I'm going on this event that's cost X amount of dollars and I've got to meet X amount of people and get X amount of deals out of this. It doesn't work that way. You come across as desperate. You come across as salesy. I mean, I'm a salesperson through and through. I just simply make connections and ask how I can serve that individual. And if you ask me, Scott, who helps you with tax strategy? Who helps you with wealth strategy? Who do you have for this? I'm going to share. I don't keep any secrets. I mean, as you see, I'm an open book. And you know what? If I can give you one connection that's going to help you, what are you going to do for me? I don't even have to ask. You're going to say, you know what? That connection you gave me made or saved me time, money, whatever. It's opened up doors for me. That person's been good to me. Then in your mind, you owe me. And if you're a good person of character, which you are, most people are, especially in these groups that we join in. I mean, some of these groups, I spend about $100K a year on me, on groups, meetings, stretching my thinking. But man, I've made so much more than that off of partnerships, collaborations, investments. I mean, there's one gentleman I know for sure, just in interest alone, our relationship in 6 months, I made $250,000. I mean,
and just so everybody understands, and so I'm a big proponent in what you just said, investing in yourself. But for the people who don't have $100,000 out there, you don't need that.
No.
All right. Clubhouse is free.
Mm-hmm.
If you share, like you mentioned earlier, and you provide value, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to build relationships that way. And by the way, on that app, half the people on there, most of the people are on there because they want to share and give. So you can also learn and build your network that way. It doesn't require always money, but once the money starts and you can afford to do that, you're allowed to level. You're basically leveling up and improving your network that way as well. I got to tell you, just from the brief time we were in Dallas together, all right, had a deal working with a guy that we sat at the lunch table together with. You and I have already invested in something in Texas. Yeah. I've got something working from Clubhouse, from your room, Breakfast with Champions. I've got something working up in Chicago. And by the way, if that deal lands, I'm going to reach out to the guy you introduced me to with the lot management because
for sure.
I mean, literally, it is just a string of events. And I look back and I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, this has just been incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? You showed up with a servant heart. You didn't sit back. Some people that are successful, their arrogance says, well, I'm not going to go to that meeting. I mean, what could they do to help me? Or they go there and they don't attend the meeting. They'll go to some part of it, then they'll go to their own dinner, or they're too good, or they won't go up and shake people's hands. Like if you'll notice, COVID or no COVID, I'm shaking people's hands. I'm introducing myself. And if you're around me, I'm going to introduce you. And I'm going to tell them what you do, and I'm going to tell you what they do. And I say, hey, if y'all guys these are good people, y'all need to exchange numbers. And then because I've worked hard on building my reputation and given, when I endorse you, you're automatically go up levels because I have you or whoever, not just me, whoever has built, they've got equity, sweat equity built up by forming relationships or relationship equity. So when I sit and say, hey, meet Scott Joseph, this dude's a stand-up guy. You know, he's looking for partnership opportunities, or he's wanting to know this information or that. This is the industry he's in. This is the industry he's in. Y'all two need to connect.
So what you're hearing here, everybody, is Scott is giving you specifics right now. This is exactly how he's built this network. It starts by, I'm going to go back to the 3 things you said that were most important in terms of key things that all highly successful people must have. And the third one, that comes from caring. So you do share, you don't ask a lot. I've never heard you ask for anything. And I haven't on any Clubhouse room, on any social, I've never heard you ask for anything. And so, but you give, which by the way, I mean, it induces some law of reciprocation, right? I mean, at some point there's an inner pressure for people who are constantly be given, you're serving and you're just providing so much value. They want to give back to you. So you're giving step by step, but the way you're doing this at these different events and with these groups of people, by introducing people, once again, you're giving, you're caring, and connecting other people. I mean, it's just, I hope people are paying attention to this.
Yeah, I agree. Some people would not want to make those connections because they can't profit on it at that time. And if you're looking to profit off relationships that immediate time and not willing to genuinely put in the work, like if I can genuinely help you, I will help you, period. And I don't expect anything back. But it's that law of reciprocity. Because I've given to you in your heart, you say, you know what? First of all, you're going to tell everybody, you know what? That's a stand-up guy. And if anybody ever says anything bad about me, you're one of the first people to sit and say, we talking about the same guy? Like, that's not the Scott I know. Do you really know him? Because typically when people talk bad about other people, and trust me, negative news spreads a whole lot faster than positive news. They really don't know the person. They may just don't like the fact that they are a little bit more open on social media. And I do that. And I share a lot of my personal life, not for me. I'm living the life. It's for everybody else. And some people would sit and say, oh, he's arrogant. Well, that's just because, or he's showing off. That's just because they've given up on their dreams. And they're just mad because they haven't lived up to their capabilities or they're behind where they should be. So they hate. But, you know, it's also about karma. You know, if I genuinely give and help you, you better bet if you have an opportunity that'll help me, you're going to call me. You're going to call me and say, you know what? He introduced me to this person that led to this. And he's been good to me. So I'm going to be good to him. So when you have that opportunity, which trust me, in these networks we run in, those opportunities come. You say, you know what? I'm going to call Scott Simons. One, he helped me. Two, I know he's got the capital. Three, you know, I'd like to win with people like this. People that win like to see other people win. And but you got to give though. You got to do it genuinely. And man, we've been around for so long, you know, we've been around the block. One thing about, you know, the car industry helps us read people. We know that if someone's full of it or not, you know, but every now and then we'll get fooled. But once they show you truly who they are, believe them, because that's who they are.
That's that one we need to put on the, when we do our, I guess, ads for this episode, and we put you up with a quote. I will make sure when we edit this, that's one of the quotes we want to pull out. That's a very good thing. When
they show you who they are, believe them.
Let's talk just business real quick. What do you think or some of, let's say, hard or fast business rule that seems to be out there that you recommend breaking?
I recommend breaking.
Here's a common fast, hard business rule that seems to be commonplace, right? And you're like, nah, you shouldn't be doing that. You need to break that rule.
You know, I think there's a lot of people that get caught up in doing all this volume. I mean, trust me, I want to sell as many cars as I humanly possibly can, but it's got to make sense. You know, why am I going to go and lose money triple net before the chip shortage, obviously, to take a customer because I have an ego that wants me to be number one? Sure, it's marrying a customer to the dealership, but we're about efficiency. We're about promoting from within. You know, our culture's moving lives forward, and we live it and breathe it. But I think sometimes, you know, people could chase good money with bad money. Trust me, I'm a competitive person. I'd like to be number one, but you know, I think sometimes people get to chasing numbers and it's just all just based on, you know, just arrogance. And trust me, we're market dominant in all of our new car franchises. We are. I mean, I look for reasons to do deals, not for reasons not to do deals. But you know, that's not what it's all about. You know, it's about taking care of a customer. Like if I go and take someone else's customer that doesn't even live here and sell a vehicle from them, and they're not going to use my service department, and why am I going to go and when I could sell that vehicle to somebody around here? Now the game has totally changed with this chip shortage, right? So, but before, I mean, I would have dealers in the outside area would do a $2,000 triple net loser, take customer that's never going to go use their service department. is not going to go back and do business with them, not unless they could just, buy a new car really cheap. So that's probably a rule that I don't necessarily agree with. Trying to think what else is out there that I disagree with. We just stick with what we know.
Well,
A lot of people reach out to us, and I'm always interested to learn, but I'm not going to go chase the shiny things. I'm not going to go buy this widget and do this and do that. I don't buy a whole lot of cars at auction, so I'm getting caught right now. I mean, my inventory is low. That's just not our business model. So I've had less new cars now, I've less used cars, so we've had to pivot. But we're about building relationships. We're about training our salespeople on how to market themselves, which before, years ago, well, you can't market yourself. You can't put your cell phone out there. Remember that? Don't you dare put your cell phone on your business card. That's our customers. Remember that? Now we're out there teaching them how to brand themselves and use hashtags, and we give them a blueprint on how to run their social media and build their machine and have their own customers and communicate with them through Facebook and text them. And you remember, I was at the time where don't you dare do that, So we're about building relationships and try to, if you're a transactional customer, we're going to move you to a relationship by taking good care of you.
You look at the difference. Well, it's the difference between having a customer versus a client, right? When you have a client, you're always looking out for their best interest. Whether it's through, the front end of the store in sales or in the back end through service, right? You're always looking out for their best thing because you view it as an ongoing, lifelong relationship, or hopefully lifelong relationship, versus, like you said, transactional with the customer. So, what final thoughts? I want to be respectful of your time. What final thoughts would you have? And you kind of touched on this before I asked that question. You say we just discussed the hard, fast business rules that you would break, and you kind of alluded to it before I even asked the question. I think there's a hard rule out there where people were guarded, tried to keep everything internal, maybe didn't share with people, an example in the agency world would be trying to do everything, not outsource much, trying to just bring it all in-house, right? And I have found that it is a lot easier to grow personally and professionally when you're more open and keeping your eyes wide open and networking and building the relationships. There's so many people out there that can help you and grow so much faster. So I think you've spent a lot of time talking about that, and I appreciate that. What kind of final thoughts do you have that would help motivate people to build better relationships, to have a more fulfilling life?
Yeah. Scott, I would just say, just be a genuine person. There's nobody perfect. We all make mistakes. If you only care about yourself and you want just one-way relationships and you've got to win all the time, you're going to lose. If you win, you're going to be by yourself. And that was a big pivot to me. The mistakes I've made is managing people, though they were me. Don't make that mistake. Find out what's important to them, manage, get to know them. I mentor, probably something that I do that's unique is I mentor. I've done it a couple of times. I'm about to start up another one here soon. I mentor like 20 of our associates, and we do life together. I mean, it's drop titles. I'm not their boss. It's their leader. Excuse me. I don't like the word boss. It's leader. We talk about credit. We talk about relationships. We talk about everything. Health. We have contests like who can spend the least amount of money in a week, which is kind of fun. Variable expenses. We pull credit. We talk about credit. We pull credit, pull it out, and they say, Scott, let's talk about your credit. I'll ask them to, and then my mentorship, which we only do it internally. People have reached out to me and asked if I'd mentor them. I'm simply not set up to do it. And it would cost so much that I wouldn't feel comfortable charging what it would cost for my time. And that may come across as arrogant, but it's, you understand. I mean, and best practice for anybody out there is take your gross income, divide it by a 60-hour work week, whatever you want to do. 60 hours times 52, take that number and divide it in your top revenue, what you make as an individual. And you should look at yourself as a business. What is your assets, what's your liabilities, and what's your net worth? You should know that even if you're a family. You should run your family as a business, the money part of it. No, not like, not totally, right? You just shouldn't have an HR department at home. But know what your know what your net worth is. And
you know what, you could argue that needs to go both ways, right? Sometimes when you run your business like a family, that works better too.
it's right. It goes, it's interchangeable. It's absolutely interchangeable. But I would just say, we all have one life, and man, time flies by. I mean, I'm 48 years old, and I sit and, when I sit and think, when I have downtime, I sit and think, I go, God dog, I'm almost 50, and just say that word 50, it's like, holy cow, cannot believe I'm almost 50, but I don't allow myself time to think about it. But, take action, be a good person, serve others. When you cheer other people on to win, they'll cheer you on to win. Do things for people without expecting anything in return. If I do something and introduce you to the gentleman that we were at Apex together, I try to introduce you to everybody that I knew, try to tell you what they did. You're going to do deals with those people. I don't expect anything in return. Now, if you can introduce me to somebody or you can involve me in a deal, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you've called me about deals, and I was brutally honest about you. Hey, man, it's stable money on this deal. You're not going to get, it's not huge returns. You're looking at about an eight year till we, get our capital back, but it'll be good cash flow until then. You got depreciation, and I'm just, just honest about it. And that's the way you should be, good, bad, or indifferent, but yeah, just take action and be a good person. And trust me, I've not been like this my whole life. There's times I've done plenty of things I'm not proud of. I only cared about myself. And I didn't do the advice I'm giving you. So I'm giving you that advice because I've made those mistakes.
Well, I want to thank you. This was a great interview, and it is always a pleasure talking with you. I learn every time, but it's an enjoyable experience as well. So Scott Simons, everybody. And by the way, I want you can find Scott on Clubhouse. Make sure you tune in every morning. Breakfast with Champions. Him and Glenn Lundy do that room. It's an outstanding room. Some big time people. If you have an opportunity to get on stage with that and talk with people, but connect with them, follow those people that are on stage, do that and start growing those relationships and building that network. But you're also on Instagram, and I want to make sure everybody finds you at the right one. So it's at Scott E. Simons.
Simons. Yeah. Somebody, I think I finally arrived, Scott. Someone just sent me a fake Instagram account. They spelled it SCOTTSEIMONS, which is not me. I'm Scott E. Simons, and I'm also on Facebook, obviously on Clubhouse and Instagram. But it looks like, they've copied my whole page. And I had a friend of mine saying,
there's been a few of those. There's been a few of those lately.
And I'm like, what? And then a friend of mine sent it to me, goes, I just realized this is not you. So I was just telling a guy I work with, Chad, he helps me run this operation, great guy. And I was like, hey man, get in there and spread the word and help me report this. So I guess you haven't arrived until someone mimics you, but I just don't want someone to hit somebody up and ask them for money. But any of my friends know that wouldn't be me. Like you said before, you serve others and karma and God will bless you back around. I'm living proof of it, man. I've got such amazing friends and live such a blessed and fortunate life. I'm just a real fortunate guy.
Well, I also want to thank the MCC Nation for tuning in and downloading the episode. And remember, you can catch all prior episodes, and we've got a lot of good ones on there at move.crush.count. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the social channels. I think I said Instagram in there. And then that's it, man. Outstanding interview. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.